please. And that being said, we are going to move forward. I think our first order of business will be to approve the minutes from our July 31st meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any discussion, corrections, errors, omissions? Anybody? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the minutes.
I have a motion.
A second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, Mr. Medina.
Okay. So good morning, everyone, and glad to see you all here again. We'll get started with our public hearings. So item 4A, receive a report, hold a discussion, and recommend adoption of an ordinance enabling compliance with Senate Bill 2439 and State House Bill 2497. So here's a brief rundown, and we'll get into more details here in a second. HB 2439 and HB 2497 of the 2019 Texas Legislature was signed by the governor on June 14, 2019. Will go into effect on September 1st, 2019. The presented ordinances in front of you are temporary. Staff recommends approval and adoption of these temporary ordinance changes. So House Bill 2439 amends the government code to prohibit an applicable governmental entity from adopting or enforcing a regulation that directly or indirectly prohibits or limits the use or installation of a building product or material in the construction or alteration of a residential or commercial building if the building product or material is approved for use by the National Model Code published within the last 3 code cycles that applies to the construction, renovation, maintenance, and other alteration of the building. This definition and this following one, these analyses were pulled directly from the State of Texas Legislature's website. House Bill 2497 amends the local government code to restrict the decisions made by an administrative official for which certain persons may appeal to a municipal board of adjustments to a decision that is not related to a specific application, address, or project. The bill authorizes, except as otherwise provided, the following persons to appeal to the Board of Adjustments a decision made by an administrative official that is related to a specific application, address, or project. A person who filed the application that is the subject of the decision, a person who is the owner or representative of the owner of the property that is subject to a decision, a person who is aggrieved by the decision and is the owner of real property within 200 feet of the property that is subject to the decision, or any officer, department, board, or bureau of the municipality affected by the decision. And staff recommends approval, again, of the ordinance. My thing stopped working. There you go. Staff is present for any questions regarding these 2 House bills. Our attorney, Ms. Julie Ford, is here as well to answer some questions, if that may help.
Questions?
I'm curious to know how this applies to historic buildings, if it does.
So we've been instructed that with regard to our historic overlays and our highway overlay district, any current overlay districts, we can still continue to administer our current building requirements and standards. It's everything outside of those overlays that this affects.
I assume you can't create new overlays then going forward that would, or expand those overlays?
That's correct. At least under the zoning ordinance, the ones that are grandfathered in had to have been in place on April 1st, 2019, so before the bill was passed. However, if a building got a state or federal historic designation, then you could impose historical standards on that building if it gets designated by one of those entities. It can't just be a zoning designation by the city.
I guess the other question I would have in regard to all the work we've done recently about materials, can you speak to that?
Can you?
We wasted time.
basically, that's what we
They're
did.
out the
And
window.
we just,
They're out
we don't have to worry about
With the
it.
exception of the overlays that are already in
Mhm.
existence.
Yeah.
Everything else is.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear examples of what's allowed now? For residential walls, the materials that the building codes allow are hardboard siding, horizontal aluminum, insulated vinyl siding, particle board panels, polypropylene siding, steel, vinyl, hardy plank, wood, and then brick, concrete, masonry, and stone. But if someone is building a home and it doesn't have a historic or planned development designation, and it's not in an overlay district or has an HOA that have deed restrictions, HOAs can still enforce their deed restrictions if they have them for masonry, then they can use any of those materials for the exterior.
One of the things that I had a question on, and I had discussed this with Judd, would we be able to create business associations like homeowners associations for commercial development that could have stipulations in those that would regulate the materials?
If the owners of the property agree to be in an association, it would have to be voluntary on the property owners.
Anything else?
I just want to remind the board that this is a public hearing, if you want to open that.
Is there anyone here that's here to speak either in favor or in opposition to this particular item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion among the commission?
Hopefully they overturn this next session.
Yeah. All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to recommend adoption of the amendments to the city's zoning ordinance and building code regulations to provide for compliance with new state laws affecting materials used for the construction or renovation of residential and commercial buildings, and as to rules and proceedings before the zoning board of adjustments.
So that would be compliance with House Bill 2439 and House Bill 2497. Should we add that to the motion? Okay. All right, have a motion? Second. Have a second, Mr. Looney. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None.
Item 4B. So this one got kind of jumbled up in your packet. Receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and make a recommendation to change the zoning of the subject property from agriculture to single-family 10, located at 3310 Pecan Gap Road, Denison, Texas, 75020, case number 2019-55Z. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property from agriculture to single-family 10. The property is on a major collector road which links Highway 75 and Highway 69. Staff recommends approval. This is the subject property. Your top left corner here is where you're going to see Highway 75, to give you some reference there. The comprehensive plan in this area states that this is to be developed as a neighborhood. Currently, the applicant is also requesting to plat the property. In order for us to move forward with the final plat, which can be administratively approved, we have to have the zoning changed first. And staff is present for any questions.
Any questions to staff? All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone here to speak in favor of this request?
Hi, my name's Michelle McCullough, and this is my home at 3310 Pecan Gap.
Okay.
Any questions for me, or?
Well, any questions, speaker? You got anything to add other than what Mr. Medina told us, or?
No, we're just trying to plat it and sell off pieces of it, and first thing we have to do is zoning.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in favor of this request? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Discussion among the commission. None. Entertain a motion.
Move to recommend approval of request to change the zoning of the subject property from agricultural to single-family 10.
I second. First and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carries. Item 4C.
Item 4C, receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, make a recommendation to change the zoning of the subject property from local retail to single-family 5, located at 730 West Heron, Denison, Texas, 75020, case number 2019-057Z. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property from local retail to single-family 5. The property is adjacent to a major collector road. Staff recommends approval. The Denison 2018 comp plan shows this area is to be developed as mixed use while encouraging the reuse of existing buildings. This is the subject property here, outlined in blue. To the south and southwest is car lots, and directly to the west you have car lots and a vacant lot as well. The surrounding properties have all been developed as residential. Just to be clear, this runs along Armstrong. I'm here for any questions the board may have. Let's see. Oh, sorry. I also want to add that there's a current vacant building on the property, which is it's a church. The property owner has informed me that he plans to renovate the existing building and maintain the current footprint of that church.
Okay, any questions of staff? All right, thank you, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this request?
My name is James Mollenauer. Live at 726 West Heron, right next door to the place. We are in favor of it being changed to a residential deal. But when you said it's going to keep the footprint of a church, what did you mean by that?
Well, we're going to ask the applicant, I'm assuming the applicant's here this morning, so we're going to ask him in just a few minutes to kind of explain that a little bit. I don't know if he's planning on using the same foundation, or if they're taking that out, they're going to put a new foundation in, but they're going to use the same footprint. So we'll clarify that with him here in just a second.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Thank you, sir. You want to come forward?
Hi, I'm Monty Bush, the owner of 730 Heron. So I bought the building about a month ago from the existing pastor that owned the building. Regarding the footprint, we are planning on using the existing structure. It's simply a 2,200-foot square building that's in fair shape, needs renovation. There's no particularly architectural redeeming qualities of the building. We're going to put new siding on it, new roof and porch, but we're not changing the layout, the footprint, or any location of the property. I believe it's a 7,500 square foot lot, so I don't know what kind of retail would go there, so I felt like it was a good change. Everything else on the street is residential, except, as he mentioned, on Armstrong and right across the street. So it'll be a 2,200 square foot house. It'll be a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house with like a white hardy plank siding and a front porch. That's about it. Any questions for me?
So you're not tearing the building?
We are not tearing the building down. It's a pretty good structure. And by the way, the neighbor, he probably noticed we did some tree trimming. We had a complaint, there was a crepe myrtle bush on the road. So we got actually 2 big trees cut down that were impacting the foundation and I think dangerous to both properties. And then the crepe myrtle that was on the, I think on the corner of Armstrong and Heron was removed.
Any questions, Mr. Speaker? Thanks, sir.
Thanks.
Anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this request? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Discussion among the commission. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of the request to change the zoning of the subject property from local retail to single-family 5.
Second.
A motion with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none. Okay. Item 4D.
Item 4D, receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, take action on a request for approval of a replat of the Miller's Second Edition located at 1500 West Woodard, Denison, Texas, 75020 on the corner of North Maurice Street and West Woodard Street, being all of lots 1 and 2, block 54 of Miller's Second Edition. Case number 2019-45AP. The applicant is requesting to replat the existing 2 parcels of property into 1 parcel. The proposed replat meets all city requirements. Therefore, staff recommends approval. Here's the replat. It's a corner lot. We also received 2 letters of support for this replat from neighboring homeowners. Present for any questions?
Any questions, staff? Thanks, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this request? You gonna let your first?
Which one of these gonna?
Yeah, me. My name's Jonathan Earnhardt. This is my firstborn, Stella. Denison, Texas, 110 South Houston Avenue. We're replatting that. It was originally 1 home on both those lots, but zoning back then allowed you to build over lots. Most of the neighboring homes are built on 2 lots. They're bigger homes in the area. We're just going to try to stick with that neighborhood and build a bigger home, and that's why we're planting the 2 lots together. If y'all have any questions, I can answer them.
Questions?
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Brad. Okay. Anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Sir?
Frank Weiniger, 1511 West Main. I'm not in opposition of the building, but it's created a water runoff problem to the rear of my property. The water's all funneled into my backyard. And I think some city people are looking at it for a drainage fix, hopefully. That's all I had to say about that. Water runoff problem.
I've been made aware of that there is, and I'm assuming, of course, we don't have anybody from Public Works here today, but I think it's been discussed with them. I think they're looking into it. Let me kind of go ahead and address, we've got several plats here, and I'm sure some of you are here for one particular case. In a replat or a plat, if this particular item meets the requirements of the city, by state law, we are not allowed to disapprove. We have to approve it if it meets the requirements. So there's not a whole lot we can do. In this particular case, when we're doing the replat, we can't do anything about the drainage. But
Okay.
Ms. Floyd is here this morning, and you can talk to her before you leave, and she'll make sure it gets to the right folks.
All right.
Make sure that it gets addressed, okay?
Good enough.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
to approve the replat of Miller's Second Edition located at 1500 West Woodard, Denison, Texas, 75020 as presented.
Motion with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing none, that one passes. Item 4E.
Item 4E, receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and take action on a request for approval of a replat of the Gateway Addition Phase 4 located between Texoma Medical Center Drive, Pool Road, and FM 691, being part of the Gateway Addition Phase 3 and all of lots 2, 3, and 4, Gateway Addition Phase 4. Case number 2019-051RP. The applicant is requesting to replat the existing several parcels of property into one parcel and to relocate a utility easement. The proposed replat meets all requirements, therefore staff recommends approval. This is the replat. Staff is present for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Anyone here to speak in favor of this request? Any questions? Thank you. Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion. Move to approve the replat of Gateway Addition Phase 4 as presented. Motion?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4F.
Item 4F, receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and take action on a request for approval of a replat of the Oakview Addition located on West Hull Street between South Chandler and South Scullin Avenue, being part of all of lots 4 and 5, Block 2 of Oakview, case number 2019-056RP. The applicant is requesting to replat the existing 2 lots of property into one parcel. The proposed replat meets all city requirements. Staff recommends approval of the replat. Here is the plat itself. Present for any questions the commission may have.
Questions? Thanks, sir. Anyone here to speak in favor of this request? Come on, Jonathan, let the dog talk.
Yeah, if I can get some favoritism for it. Again, the same thing. This one is, because it has a creek on the majority of one of those lots, made the lot useless. So we're like to join it to the house we're building next door and make a little bit bigger house on here, if you have any questions.
Sir,
Thank y'all.
questions? Anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the replat of Oakview Addition as presented.
Second.
Motion with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Item 4G.
Item 4G, receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and take action on a request for approval of a replat of the Couch Skipworth Edition located at Waterloo Lake Drive and Day Street, being part of the Hardin-Jones Survey, abstract number 630, and being the remainder of Lot 1, Block 2 of Jen Haven Edition. Case number 2019-061FP. The applicant is requesting to replat the 1 lot into 8 lots. The proposed replat meets all requirements. Therefore, city staff recommends approval of the replat. And here's the replat itself. We did receive 1 letter of opposition from the property owners at 812 Waterloo Lake Drive in opposition.
Questions of staff?
The initial plat? I don't know when the initial plat was filed. I can find out for you, though. I'd have to check with the county. Thank you.
Anything else, staff?
That seems like a lot of homes to be right there. As the chairman said a while ago, we have no choice but to approve a replat, but that's on my route every day. Those lots are super shallow, and I don't know how many acres that is, 1.5 or 2, I guess. And obviously, we're known for being in favor of everything building in Denison, so I don't want to be a naysayer, but I can't imagine fitting 8 homes right there in a row in front of all those huge homes that are by there. It doesn't seem to be consistent with the homes that are already there. Having fallen victim to the property tax people that are in Sherman, I'm on the other side of the equation of Waterloo Lake. I can't imagine what they're going to claim those homes are worth. I very seriously doubt that you can put 8 homes there and it look reasonable with the other people that are currently there.
I have kind of a concern for the back of the property as well. Besides being shallow, to fit a home on that land, it's almost like it's a precipice with the road in front and a drop off to the back.
Yeah, certainly the topography is going to be a challenge for the builder. However, I think the topography might affect how the property seems to be laid out. It does meet the requirements. It's zoned 7.5 right now. So as long as it is 50 by 100 and 7,500 square feet within each lot, then it is technically correct. But lot number 1 meets that requirement by just a dozen or so square feet. So you're right, it is going to be pretty tight for a few of those lots.
But what's, just for FYI, what's the zoning for the remainder of those properties? Are they 7.5, or are they SF10?
On the east side of the road?
Yeah, most of all I think those lots seem to be bigger than 7.5 along Waterloo Drive.
Yeah, so along Waterloo Lake Drive on the east side, if I recall correctly, it is zoned 7.5. I can check right now. Now that's the 7,500 square feet is just a minimum,
Right.
so they can make it bigger. Let me see if I can find that out real quick. Yes, that whole area is zone 7.5. I can pass our zoning map around if you'd like to see that.
So in regards to your question from earlier, regarding when it was first platted, it looks like the county is still a little behind on digitizing their records. So it looks like the Gin Haven addition was originally, the most recent plat was done February of 2007.
I'm just speaking specifically to the Couch Skipworth edition.
That one unfortunately has not been listed in their records yet. We were informed recently, unfortunately, that they are very, very behind in digitizing their plats. So the option we were given was to come look through the books ourselves.
So what was the original, the original plat was in February of 2007?
So that's when the Gin Haven addition was originally platted, or originally created. The Couch Skipworth edition has not yet been added to their records. Unfortunately, the last few times I've reached out to the county to find out more information about that, the answer I was given was, come look for it yourself.
Okay, were there, I guess this is, were there deed restrictions with that first, with the 2007 edition, were there deed restrictions filed too?
I don't see any in the records, no.
Any other questions for Bill?
I've got another question, and that is that is very close to the trail, I believe. So I'm assuming that that's not going to be impacted.
Yeah, let me see if I can get this laser to work. I can kind of point out. It does not? Okay. So, come down to, go below 8, go to the left a little bit. Go a little more. South of that is city property, and that's where the trails go. And Casey, I don't know if you can see from there, I think that block behind might actually be city property as well.
There are also some trails behind there if you go up from where you just were.
All the way to number 2.
Yeah, all the way.
Yeah, so
up.
the dotted line, it shows 3.810 acres for the city of Denison, which I guess that's the city purchasing that floodplain.
That part that's outlined is city property.
I'm sorry?
That outlined area is the city property, is that correct?
Yeah, so and that's also the floodplain as well. There's 2 dotted lines that are overlapping here.
I see that.
So on lot 8, just above the 8 is city of Denison property, and then the dashed line is your FEMA flood line.
Okay.
And that's why on this plat here, we required the developer to place on lot 8 where the proposed house would go. So come development time, to issue a permit to build, we're going to verify that the house is going to be sitting on that location there. He won't be allowed to deviate from there due to the floodplain.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Bill? Thanks, sir. Is the applicant here this morning? Applicant? Could you come? Yeah.
Hello, I'm David Couch. The property, I will clarify a few things. I mean, the houses are going to be there are going to be between $300,000 and $500,000. I mean, there are on lots 4, 5, and 6. Terry Skipworth. I mean, he's a pretty known builder in the county. I mean, everything he builds is of high quality. I mean, they will be built up. I mean, it's an 80-foot lot, an 85-foot lot. So it is on the narrow. The width is on the narrower side, but I mean, the house will be built up. It'll have a full 2-story on lots 4, 5, and 6. Lot 8, actually, that's going to be my personal house. The floodplain does enter the back. I mean, but the length of that actual structure will be 90 foot long. I mean, so I mean, I understand the zoning is SF 7.5, which is 7,500. Lot 1's the only one that falls just a hair above that. There's a creek that runs through that property. Whether I ever build a house there, I mean, I don't know. But the adjacent lot, it's 130 width-wise, and then mine's 250, of course. The others are, I think, 80 and 85 across the front. And I mean, my plan isn't to jam-pack houses in there. I mean, there should be, there's going to be 20, 25 foot between the houses that do go there. And as far as, nothing's going to be, I mean, everything's going to be masonry, a combination of brick and stone. I will do some deed restrictions to what I do sell to Skipworth, just to make sure that, everything goes with the neighborhood. And if you have any questions.
Are they going to be owner occupied type houses, or?
Yeah, they're definitely all going to be owner occupied, yeah.
I noticed that lot 2 is considerably wider than the others?
Yeah, if you look at Lot 1 and Lot 2, there's actually a creek that penetrates from Waterloo Road into Lot 1. It actually runs to the back side of Lot 2, and it would be an unbuildable lot unless I took it to 130. And 130 gives me just enough to, to put a house there, which leaves me with Lot 1. And Lot 1 is, I'm undecided. I mean, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to put a structure there or not. I'm definitely not, I don't have to, I may, retain that property as well. I mean, for whatever purpose. I may just mow it at this point. I mean, but including it in Lot 2 didn't make a whole lot of sense because that creek like splits the two anyways, so. So technically, I am going to keep Lot 7. I'm keeping Lot 1, 2, 3. Skipworth is going to purchase 4, 5, and 6, and then of course I'll implement deed restrictions of 2,000 foot or more, which I'm going to keep on the low side, just in case something does change in the future. But I'm expecting him to build, 2,500 plus. Lot 7, I'll probably keep as myself because I'll be building on Lot 8. So there's no plan to put a house on Lot 7 as of now.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you think the price range of the lots is going to be?
The price range of lots, I would think the price range of lots are going to be like a retail appraisal would probably be $35,000 to $40,000 a lot, maybe more. But I mean, I have no intent in selling any of the lots. I mean, if the structure goes on, I'm going to build on them. Other than 4, 5, and 6, which Skipworth is going to build on.
So lots 1, 2, and 3, are you going to build on those?
I'm definitely building on Lot 3. And then I will eventually build on Lot 2, yes. 7 is 1 and 7 are the ones that are undecided at this point. I mean, I don't know if I want it. I don't know if I want a neighbor there or I need that for a pool or. I mean, I don't know if I do it, then I'll have to adjoin that to part of my lot. But
So you're saying 1 and 7 may not be built? Is that
yes, 1 and 7 may not be. I mean, I have no plans for 1, and then I've tossed around plans with 7. But as of now, no plans to build on 7 at all. I mean, when I get my house in there and built, then I may just keep 7.
And you're on 8?
Yeah, I'll be on 8. Yeah. It's already 250 foot long, and that floodplain, the line that runs back behind the floodplain there is actually an easement from the city of Denison from when they took the easement for the old floodplain. The FEMA floodplain, actually, I'm going to do some more research on that as far as elevation because FEMA actually didn't do a whole study there. There's a line back on the map that they actually stopped the study, and they just call it Zone A. So I'm going to, because the elevations just don't line up with that actual line of that floodplain. So there wasn't an actual study done. They just basically said, okay, well, this is elevation, let's add 3 foot, and they drew the FEMA floodplain line there. So I will do some further research to see if I can get, more back that way. And if I can, then.
Any questions? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else here to speak in favor of this request? All right, anyone here to speak in opposition to it?
Yes. Good morning.
My name is Keith Milks. This is my wife Barbara. We live at 812 Waterloo Lake Drive. We submitted the letter in opposition to this, and I understand you're limited as to what you can do as long as it meets requirements, but I figured we needed to have our voice heard.
Also, because Mr. Medina didn't tell you what we said in the opposition letter,
And
we want that heard.
I have never spoken with Mr. Redwine before, but he echoed every comment that I had. I'm concerned about the aesthetics of the neighborhood, about increased traffic, the size of the lots that are inconsistent with our lot and our neighbors. The fact that houses along those neighborhoods are offset from the street a considerable distance. And as nice as these houses may be, and as beautiful as I'm sure they will be, they're not gonna have the same quality in the neighborhood that I'm concerned about. So I'm going to read the letter verbatim, so it's for the record. Lot sizes are not comparable to neighboring homes. Loss of greenery will negatively affect the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Roadside parking is dangerous because there's a major conduit from the east to the west side of Denison. I'm a police officer in a neighboring jurisdiction. I actually park my patrol vehicle sometimes down at the bottom of my street just to slow people going in and out of there. It has become, as I put it, a cluttered subdivision that will drive established homes from Denison.
Now I know where you live. You're the Howell police officer.
I'm the Howell police officer.
I drive by there twice a day, so now I know
There
where
you
you live.
go. I have all the barking dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the dogs, but I know.
Well, it's my dog, it's my little dog, my little police dog, yeah. But that's, anything else?
No, those are big concerns. And I know our neighbors are also concerned, but I don't know if they were able not to come. But we wanted to at least be heard because we moved there in August of 2011. We didn't know if they were going to ever build on that, but we have enjoyed the greenery. And of course, there's a lot of different little creatures that we've run into. But just the fact that we are able to go down there and walk around, and I understand that the gentleman wants to build, I understand everybody wants to be able to enjoy the area. But I know a lot of us like to walk around there because it's an opportunity to just be out there with nature. And it's a good area to just enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in opposition?
Yes, good morning. I'm Robert Sylvester, and my wife and I own the home that's just immediately to the south, 1011 Waterloo Lake Drive. And I wouldn't say I'm necessarily against further development to the north. I think the neighborhood as a whole is concerned about 8 lots, and if there's going to be 8 homes, I think he's addressed that there may not be quite that many, but with certainly, it's a nice area, and we would like to see homes that are compatible. He mentioned some restrictions. I don't know if those are typically deed restrictions or if that is something that becomes part of the plat. And then I guess there's still some questions as to if a preliminary plat has been filed. So did we... for this specific development for 8 lots.
Yeah, we do not have a preliminary plat for these 8 lots.
Any questions for Robert?
Robert, is there any neighborhood association?
No, there is not.
Just curious.
Yeah. I think the neighborhood was developed in the late 80s. I counted this morning, there are 18 homes currently there. And, one of the concerns is traffic, but that's something for the city of Denison to enforce. And frankly, they're not doing a real good job of that at the moment. So that's something to be aired with the city council. But as far as homes on his lots, I'm not in opposition to that. I'm just concerned about the possible number and the compatibility with the existing neighborhood.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
What's this? What? I'll say, what's the second C on this? It's too small, but what's the setback?
Well, the setbacks, I'm assuming, are gonna be the same. We're gonna have a 25-foot front yard, 10-foot rear yard, and 7.5 foot on each side. That's the 7.5 requirements there.
Why can you move it over to the?
So I'm assuming those will be the same requirements for these lots.
Yeah, he'll have to still meet all setback requirements.
Yeah.
What about parking?
Same thing. 2-car garage is gonna be a requirement. That's
Yeah, everything out of the garage, I mean,
has to comply
Yeah.
with all of the requirements of the 7.5 zoning with the exception of the material.
The material.
Is that correct? Since we
Yeah.
have legal staff here with us this morning.
That's correct.
So
Yeah.
everything that's a part of our 7.5, and
Yes.
staff has already told us that the entire development is a 7.5. So the structure itself will have to comply just like the other houses in that area.
Hmm.
So you can't go in there and not build garages or not build a two-car garage. The only thing that we're not gonna be able to enforce as a city would be the material requirements. That's the only thing we can't have any control over that. Everything else will comply with 7.5, which is.
Unless he restricts them within his deed.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I will, with anything that I sell, will have I'll implement these restrictions. Even the ones that are going to skip work.
I'm gonna give you a second to come back and rebut here in just a second, so I'm gonna let you come back to the podium. But we just need to clarify that everything, he's gonna be required to comply with zoning just like every other house in that area is. As far as setbacks, and again, materials is the only thing. That's not our fault, that's not the city's fault. You can blame the folks in Austin for that. And we're not happy about that either. So, you know,
I know this isn't our job, so this is just a comment.
we're discussing
That
it,
we're
and I
discussing,
appreciate
right. So one of my concerns is that this property is unusual in that there cannot be any back access, I'm assuming.
Correct.
And that makes a limitation in itself.
This is kind of how I'm looking at this case. Of course, it doesn't matter how we look at it, we have to approve it.
Right.
We don't have a choice, but this is kind of how I'm looking at it. Yes, it's a beautiful piece of property. I enjoy having that when I'm driving down, going to where I live. I go down Waterloo quite a bit, so. But it's private property that's owned by Mr. Couch, so.
I understand.
He has the right to develop the property. And we have placed restrictions on that parcel. And based on this plat, he's gonna be able to comply with those restrictions. So we don't have a whole lot of say-so. And, this is not the first time we've been faced with, scenery being obstructed with new development. I think it's a hard sell, saying that, 6 or 7 more houses is going to really affect the density and the traffic count on Waterloo and make it, worse or whatever, I don't know. But point is that we're here to discuss it. I appreciate everybody that's come down, and I understand the opposition. However, we have no choice. But, Mr. Couch, I'm gonna give you a chance to come back, and you've heard the complaints and the opposition, and I'm gonna let you address those and see if you can make them feel a little bit better about what you're gonna build.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my intent to clutter the road. I'm going to live there as well. I mean, I have all the same views as you guys do. I mean, anybody that lives there or in the area. As far as traffic parking on the road, I mean, that's not going to happen. I've been pretty diligent in cleaning the land. I cut all the underbrush out. I'm going to be real. I'm going to go through, pick through trees. I mean, my object is to try to leave at least 8 to 10 good trees. I mean, I could take out under 18 inches. The code says anything 18 has to stay. If it's not within the building pad itself. But I mean, I'm going to do my diligence on keeping it, compliant with the neighborhood. I mean, I have no intention yet. Yes, the width of the lots are smaller than I actually would like them to be. But I mean, they're definitely conform to the current B&Z 7.5 zoning, and the houses that Skip particularly want to build there, and the one that I want to build on lot 2 and 3. I mean, they are up houses. I mean, they're going to probably be, with the garage, 2,500 square foot on the first floor, and they're going to have, master suites upstairs. I mean, but they are going to be, they're all going to be brick and rock houses, and they're all going to flow with the neighborhood. I mean, that's definitely not my object to. I just want everybody to understand that I'm not going to try to put a house there that don't belong there.
So your architecture is going to be
Yes.
compliant with what's already there?
It's already there.
Code is what's already there.
Yeah, yeah. And then the width of the lots, I mean, the houses that faced on the east side of Waterloo, I mean, those houses that come down on there, I think those are only 100-foot lots. I mean, we're talking 15-foot difference. So, and the 7.5 says you have to build 8 foot from the back of it to be 8 foot from the side property line. I mean, and I think we're gonna have. I think it's gonna look fine.
It's 10%, isn't it?
10% of minimum, which would be 5, and then no more than 8. So I think 8's I think you can go 8 from the property line. Is that wrong?
It should be 10% and no more than 8 feet on the
No more than
on
8
the sides.
That's the architect's problem.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not our issue with that.
But I mean, I believe that we can build houses, get the square footage, and and I think everything that's going to be there. There's nothing going to be under $300,000 as far as an appraisal, which I think it should go fine in the neighborhood.
And I would just say that, in this particular case, what might be kind of good is for you to meet with the neighbors and
Yeah.
show them.
Yeah, and I will.
Try to-
And I'm going to be living there too. I mean, I'm not building something. I definitely don't want everybody in the neighborhood mad at me from the get-go. So.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else here to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we are going to entertain a motion on this particular item.
I move to approve the replat of Couch Skipworth Edition as presented.
Have a motion? I have to have a second, guys. Somebody make a second. Have a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right, item 4H.
Item 4H, this is in regard to another House bill that was passed. Receive a report, hold a discussion, and recommend adoption of an ordinance enabling compliance with the State House Bill 3167. House Bill 3167 of the 2019 Texas Legislature was signed by the governor on June 14th, 2019, and will go into effect on September 1st, 2019. The presented ordinance is temporary. Staff recommends approval of the adoption of this temporary ordinance. House Bill 3167 amends the local government code to replace the requirement for the municipal authority responsible for approving plats to act on a plat within 30 days after the date the plat is filed, with a requirement for such authority to approve or disapprove a plan within 30 days after the date the plan is filed. The bill makes conforming and related changes and defines, quote, plan as a subdivision development plan, including a preliminary plat, a preliminary subdivision plan, subdivision construction plan, site development plan, and final plat. So this House bill here is going to be the one that is going to change city staff procedures the most. We're going to have to develop new pre-approval processes for plans that are coming forward. So we're going to be taking a closer look at how we're going to be refining our steps through development going forward come September 1st. So staff is here for any questions the commission may have, and so is Ms. Julie Fort.
So what exactly is that saying that you have to, can you expound on that a little bit?
Yes, so with the current state law, plats have to be approved within 30 days. Is that correct, Julie?
Yes.
So now what this does is this expands that kind of rule or that law to include those types of plans: subdivision plan, subdivision construction plan, site development plan, final plat, and preliminary plat. So it kind of just expands that plat requirement, that 30-day timer, if you will, to include plans as well.
Does the 30-day process start at application? Is that when we're going to start the 30-day count?
Is that when they submit their?
Yes, as you know, plats have always had a 30-day rule, but these other plans have not. It tightens up the 30-day rule and requires if something is denied, there has to be a list of everything that was wrong with it. And in that list, you have to cite to the section of the city code that requires whatever it is that they're missing. And you can deny, but you're required to provide them with the list of why it was denied. And the property owner can then take as long as they want, even a couple years, and to fix what the comments were of what was wrong, and then they can resubmit, hopefully with everything corrected. Once they resubmit, then the city has 15 days to either approve with conditions, or deny with the list of reasons why it's being denied. So that resubmittal will be a very short timeframe. The expansion of this is to other plans, construction plans, et cetera. It only relates to plans that are required by the subdivision regulation ordinance. This does not affect things required by the zoning ordinance. They're two different things. So a lot of times you'll hear a site plan related to a zoning case. Those are not affected by this. It's really true development, engineering, et cetera. In the past, it was common for cities to request a waiver of the 30-day requirement to approve a plat to allow the city's engineer time to make comments to the applicant. They could go back and forth and work on it together to get it to where it can be presented to you all. This really takes away that ability. An applicant can still waive the 30 days, but the city cannot request them to do so. So the city engineer could give comments back to the applicant, and if the applicant doesn't respond, it's still got to go on your next agenda for consideration whether the applicant has replied or not. I mean, that would probably be a case where you'd be looking at denial and using the list that was given to the comments, to tell them what they need to fix. You won't have the opportunity to table any longer, if you want more information, unless the applicant voluntarily says they're going to waive the 30 days. So it's just a change in the procedures that staff is going to have to make in order to get everything to you very quickly. And probably there will be cases where it's before it's ready to be considered, but these are the rules we have to follow now. I don't think they help the city. I don't think they help the landowner either, because it doesn't give them the time to get their stuff corrected and then be considered. It forces you to deny, because if you don't deny, then it's deemed approved.
If it's denied, do they have any recourse?
You have to give them the list of all the reasons it was denied, and then they have the ability to resubmit with all of those corrections made.
So those denials will be without prejudice, so they could resubmit.
Correct. They have the resubmittal, you have 15 days to act. If it's denied again because they did not address all of the comments for the denial, then that application is done at that point, and then they would have to reapply with a new application.
Wow.
Since we're talking, I've got a question about 2439. And possibly, with the case we just heard, this might be a way to circumvent some of the adversities. Would we still be able to do plan developments, and within those plan developments, specify material requirements, and that be legal?
No, it wouldn't be enforceable if you did it. I think the ones you had before April 1st of this year are probably enforceable. You could do development agreements with property owners and create contractual obligations to do those things. And then you would have a contract that you could enforce, but it wouldn't be enforceable as a violation of the zoning ordinance.
Well, you know, when you do a plan development, the applicant works with the city and they create their own requirements, their own setbacks. So, you know.
Not necessarily the city.
This is right, it's not like, you know, where we've got a standard SF 7.5, it's 75% masonry, all four elevations, da-da-da-da-da. In a PD, they can specify, if they don't want masonry, if they're gonna build, you know, cottages or whatever, they can specify that we want this particular architecture that, you know. So there's a whole lot more flexibility in there. And my thinking is that the actual property owner developer has a whole lot more input with that. If they came forward with it voluntarily and made that a part of the PD, then maybe the city couldn't enforce it, but legally it would be enforceable, I would think. From the developer's
Yeah, I mean, that is something you can take into consideration when you're considering a zoning case that is a plan development. I mean, the reason you do a plan development is because the underlying base zoning doesn't work, right? There's something unique or different that the property owner wants to do. And so this is where the law is unclear and things are gonna evolve over the next few months, but there's probably opportunity there to say, you know, if your property were deed restricted to what you're asking us to approve as zoning, that's something that would certainly influence our decision in deciding whether to grant the PD or not.
Julie,
all look into.
We are.
or Julie or Bill, back on the 3167. So is that staff approval, or is that like our board commission approval? Has to be within 30 days.
Isn't it both?
It's for plats and things that the subdivision ordinance require come before you for approval, it's 30 days to you.
So our only part in that is the plat. And we were, well, I guess what I'm going with that is, back there, it was decided that we would not see preliminary plats. Is that correct? Would that still be applied to subdivision? Because I think we were to see just the final.
I'd have to
Yeah.
check with the ordinance.
I mean, everything that staff is able to approve administratively now, they can still approve it administratively, but then the 30 days would apply to their approval.
I guess where you would come in, like if somebody filed a plat a couple of days ago and it's not, you know, ready to be on our agenda today and we don't meet and it's 32 days afterward, then at that point, that's where you come in and you have to deny it at that point if it's not, been, I guess, finalized within that time period? Or how would you address that? Because we wouldn't have the opportunity at that point.
Yeah, if
To
someone
even review
submits within 72 hours of your meeting where it can't be added to an agenda, and then your next meeting ends up being more than 30 days away, you're gonna have a special call meeting, or staff can make the decision to let it be deemed approved, and not call the special meeting if it looks like
if it
everything is
conforms.
in good order,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and we have on our calendar as well we have a cutoff date for this meeting. I think our internal admin timer is about 10 or 15 days before the meeting. You have to have your, you know, whatever it is that needs to come before the board or the body submitted to us. We can actually review and get comments and get that going. So we try to avoid that as best we can so we don't put ourselves in that situation.
But if it doesn't, if the city has comments back that, you know, it doesn't meet the requirements, is that considered the disapproval, or would it still have to be acted upon by the commission?
Has to be acted upon.
Okay, I guess we need to go ahead and act on this one. Read one piece. So, yeah, close the public hearing and I'll entertain a motion.
I Move to recommend adoption of the ordinance suspending application of ordinance provisions contained in the city subdivision ordinance as it now exists, or as it may be amended, that conflict with the provisions of House Bill 3167 passed by the 86th legislature of the state of Texas and signed by Governor Greg Abbott on June 14th, 2019, directing city staff to process all plans and plats as defined in House Bill 3167 in accordance with the revisions of House Bill 3167.
Second.
Or something like that.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, seeing none, motion carries. All right, anything else, Bill?
No, sir. Y'all have any questions of staff right now? I think that's it for our agenda. If y'all have anything.
I think so. Still on the lookout for a planning director, is that?
Yeah, so we haven't, no luck yet.
I move to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Have a second. Second. I got a second. Against red line, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned at 11:07.